Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.
From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Friday, January 8th. I'm Wayne Pratt. The fallout continues from Wednesday's riot at the U.S. Capitol. Many blame President Donald Trump, including Missouri State Representative Shamed Dogan.
He's told them that the election was stolen. He's told them that the government that's going to be sworn in on January 20th of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is illegitimate and that they're planning a coup against him. When you use that kind of language, what do you expect people to do?
Dogan is a Republican from Baldwin. 5 people died in the violence Wednesday in Washington. And along with politicians like Dogan blaming the president, there are increasing calls for Donald Trump's removal from office. That includes a call from a Republican congressman from Illinois. St. Louis Public Radio's Eric Schmid reports.
In a video statement, Representative Adam Kinzinger says those closest to Trump need to invoke the 25th Amendment after rioters stormed the Capitol.
The president is unfit, and the president is unwell, and the president must now relinquish control of the executive branch voluntarily or involuntarily.
Kinzinger represents part of northern Illinois. St. Louis Public Radio contacted Republican representatives Rodney Davis, Mary Miller, and Mike Bost, whose districts include parts of the Metro East. Davis was unavailable, and Bost and Miller did not respond to multiple requests for comment. In statements yesterday, Davis said political violence of any kind must be prosecuted. Bost called the riots un-American, and Miller said the violence is unacceptable. I'm Eric Schmid, St. Louis Public Radio.
The fallout is also reaching Republican Senator from Missouri Josh Hawley. He was the first senator to announce objection to Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. The Post-Dispatch has published an editorial saying Hawley should, quote, do Missourians and the rest of the country a big favor and resign now. And publisher Simon & Schuster has dropped a deal with Hawley for a book about tech companies. That's where reporter Aviva Okeson-Haberman picks up the story.
After pro-Trump extremists breached the National Capitol building on Wednesday, Simon & Schuster canceled the publication of Hawley's book, The Tyranny of Big Tech. In a statement, the publishing company said it cannot, quote, support Senator Hawley after his role in what became a dangerous threat to our democracy and freedom. In a tweet, Hawley condemned the violence and said people who attacked the police should be prosecuted. This adds to growing criticism of the Republican senator. Former Senator John Danforth told multiple Missouri newspapers that he regrets mentoring Hawley. I'm Aviva Okeson-Haberman.
In other news, the nation's top infectious disease expert says the pandemic could begin to diminish in the spring. Dr. Anthony Fauci made the comment yesterday during a virtual address at Washington University. He says case counts could begin to decrease by April.
If we get, 100 million people vaccinated in 100 days, the way President-elect Biden wants to do, I think you'll start to see some impact on the dynamics of the outbreak, which maybe would allow us to sort of pull back a little bit.
Fauci adds that 70 to 80% of the population will need to receive the vaccine before the nation reaches a point of widespread immunity. Officials in Kirkwood are investigating racist vandalism at 3 schools. As St. Louis Public Radio's Ryan Delaney reports, it's another racist incident at St. Louis County high schools in recent years.
The N-word was spray-painted several times on the side of Kirkwood High School. Later in the evening, similar vandalism was found at both middle schools. Principals at the schools and the superintendent condemned the acts in letters to families. Several racial incidents have happened at suburban St. Louis schools over the past 5 years. A Kirkwood student used charcoal from a chemistry lab to give himself blackface in 2016. Eureka and Ladue high schools have both had incidences of racial comments and blackface used by students in recent years. I'm Ryan Delaney, St. Louis Public Radio.
Some items we are following today in the St. Louis Public Radio and NPR newsrooms. More resignations from the president's cabinet are possible following Wednesday's riot at the U.S. Capitol. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos is among the latest to say she's leaving. There are also continuing calls to remove the president from office by invoking the 25th Amendment, and many are also supporting a move for impeachment. A new legislative session begins today in Illinois. Lawmakers will be addressing an ambitious agenda from black legislators that proposes major changes to education, healthcare, and the criminal justice system. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio, music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. As we wrap up, to say it's been a tough week, well, that's an understatement. So we want to go into the weekend on a positive note. Make that 10 positive notes. That's how many music notes are in the drum fill to end all drum fills, and it's in a song that was released 40 years ago tomorrow. Those iconic drums hit at around 3 minutes and 40 seconds into Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight. This song has been used in a lot of places over the decades, including the TV show Miami Vice in the 80s, and more recently the movie The Hangover. And some guy with way too much time in his hands put this together, a 30-minute loop of those drums, and then he threw it up on YouTube. I never get tired of that. Maybe I should. With all of that, we hope you have a great weekend. I'm Wayne Pratt from the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom. This has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.